This Republican majority thinks that it works for President Trump, as opposed to being an independent branch of government that serves as a check on power. And so we see endless attempts to curry favor, to kiss up. And of course, the quintessence of that is the bill before us today.
The Gulf of America Act would rename the body of water formerly known as the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. The Secretary of Interior, acting through the chairman of the U.S. Board of Geographic Names, would oversee the implementation of the renaming. On his first day back in office, President Trump signed Executive Order 14172 entitled Restoring Names That Honor American Greatness.
Stephen Colbert proposed this as a joke in 2010, and it's important to remember what was going on at the time, what led to the joke. There was a blown BP oil well that gushed oil for many, many weeks and months, killed 11 people, crushed the coastal economy of the Gulf, and Colbert used the name change as a gimmick to raise awareness of the disaster that dragged on for 5 months, something our Republican friends seem to have forgotten about as they advance their dirty drilling agenda. It is weirdly appropriate that they are taking what started out as a joke and actually moving it forward as part of their drill baby drill agenda, and unfortunately that means the joke is on us.
You aren't actually a terrorist just because a member of Congress from Georgia says you are. There actually has to be evidence provided to support that. That's how our country works. That's how due process works. That's how the rule of law works. Is the president doesn't get to determine that someone is or is not a terrorist. Members of Congress don't get to determine whether someone is or is not a terrorist. But that does not seem to be something that some of my colleagues understand.
The Gulf's natural resources and wildlife are an essential part of America's economy. It is one of the largest oil and gas regions in the world, providing about 14% of our nation's crude oil production and an abundance of natural gas. The resources found in the Gulf have driven innovative technologies that have allowed our nation to reach some of the deepest and richest oil reserves in the world. The Gulf is also home to many fisheries teeming with snapper, shrimp, grouper, stone crab, and other species. And it is recognized as one of the most productive fisheries in the world, with the second largest volume of commercial fishing landings by region in the nation, contributing millions of dollars to local American economies. The Gulf is also a vital region for the multi-billion-dollar American maritime industry, containing some of the largest ports in the world, including in Houston, New Orleans, and Mobile. Millions of Americans visit the Gulf each year with their families and take part in all the recreation it has to offer. Given all these contributions from the Gulf to our nation and from our nation to the Gulf, it is clear that the states which border the Gulf, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida, are not the only ones that benefit from it. Therefore, it is fitting that the Gulf be named in honor of America, as it will continue to be a crucial part of our nation for generations to come. The Gulf of America Act has 15 co-sponsors. We encourage more members to sponsor this bill, and I thank the subcommittee for hearing me out today. And Madam Chairwoman, I yield back the remainder of my time.
Listening to my colleagues, the Democrats on the other side of the aisle, complain and whine and defend illegal aliens that break the law the minute they cross our border is pathetic. The American people are so sick and tired of it. They cannot believe what our country has gone through. And it is enough. It is absolutely enough. But they will go on and on to defend anyone that is not American because of their America Last policies. You talk about tax dollars used. Our tax dollars should be used defending Americans. And you want to talk about spending a lot of money? Spending a lot of money should happen for American causes, American purposes, and American security. Laken Riley is a young woman who should be living her American dream, and she had the right to do it. But people that come across our border illegally are not Americans, and they do not have rights here. And that is exactly why anytime they break a law, anytime they cross into our country, they should be rounded up and shipped out as fast as possible. And if we need to build more prisons, then we'll do it.
It is so shameful that the first bill of the new Congress will put a target on the back of millions of our neighbors that work so hard, that build up our communities. It is also going to increase militarization of our neighborhoods. As somebody that grew up in Southwest Detroit, where you'll find 20 different ethnicities, people from all over the world came together, and you should see how beautifully diverse it is, but how they built up communities and neighborhoods. They're an integral part of our neighborhood. And one of the things that I have been seeing over and over again on social media already, Mr. Chair, is literally militarization of Border Patrol, officials everywhere, just people scared and petrified, because that's what's exactly happening, because this promotes racial profiling. The bill blatantly violates due process. I mean, these are literally being allegations and charges, not actual convictions. Y'all act like if somebody's undocumented, they can't be deported. They can. As a former immigration attorney, I know that for a fact. You're making this up so you can literally allow people to be profiled and discriminated against. Blame them for the cost of eggs? Is that what we're doing here? We're blaming them because you guys can't get corporate greed on a side that is a disease that is killing our economy? People can't afford housing? You think it's because of our immigrant neighbors? No. If you cared truly about fixing our immigration system, you'd go fix it so that U.S. citizens married to undocumented spouses can actually adjust their status, where we have mixed statuses, because for 30 years we've ignored and vilified immigrants. Enough is enough. It will separate families. It would lead again to continued discrimination. It's shameful that my colleagues are giving into racist fear-mongering at the first opportunity to pass legislation to scapegoat our immigrant neighbors and fuel hate in our communities. I know what's going to happen. It won't just be undocumented. It'll be people like my mother who will get stopped and profiled. She have to carry her U.S. passport around? Are we asking people now to have documentation? That's what you want to turn our neighborhoods into, is militarization?
I yield the gentlelady an additional 30 seconds.
The gentlelady is recognized.
I just ask all of you to truly understand what this will do to our communities. I urge our colleagues to please vote no on this divisive bill. And it's so important to understand what you're going to turn our communities and our neighborhoods into. We can't allow that to continue to happen. With that, I yield.
Thank you.
The lady is recognized.
Thank you. I think my colleague across the aisle is very confused and maybe uneducated and uninformed of what a special interest alien is. SIA is a non-U.S. person who is based on an analysis of travel patterns, potentially poses a national security risk to the United States or its interest. Special interest aliens are people from countries identified by the United States government as having conditions that promote or protect terrorism or potentially pose some sort of national security threat to the United States. It's hard for me to fathom that anyone on this committee would be opposed to simply reporting the number of special interest aliens that Homeland, that are great men and women that served as Border Patrol agents, that any of our police, any of our ICE agents happen to detain, and it's just the number. We're just telling the American people how many. That's it.
Would the gentlelady yield for a question?
No, I will not yield. The Department of Homeland Security officials have publicly posted information about special interest aliens in the past, including the current Border Patrol chief and his predecessor. Custom and Border Protection already published similar numbers on its public site. For example, the terrorist screening data set. And just to go further, and this is always an interesting dynamic to me. On our side of the aisle, we trust the American people, and we believe they deserve transparency. They deserved the truth from the federal government, because it is, after all, that we swore an oath to serve the American people. And the American people are the taxpayers that pay all of our paychecks. They pay for this building. They fund this government, even though the government has plunged them into $36 trillion in debt and opened up the borders for the past 4 years and allowed it to be flooded with illegal aliens. And then the Biden administration gave them Social Security numbers. You see, this that we are trying to pass today, and we would love to have your participation. We would enjoy and really would thank you for caring about transparency and providing information to the American people that so deserve it, instead of arguing back and forth and watching you all defend special interest aliens, defend terrorists who have come in our country, and defend dangerous, violent cartels who have been deported out of our country. I know too many people that have been murdered by cartels. I know too many people, and I know their families, and have watched them mourn because they have a family member that was killed by illegal alien crimes or murdered by an illegal alien or a cartel member. This should be a simple conversation. We are all Americans, and we serve this country, not foreign countries. And that should be a simple fact that we can all recognize, not have political disagreements about. Congress, by the way, has previously released information as it relates to special interest aliens through hearings and committee reports, including the October 3rd, 2024 report from the House Judiciary Committee titled "The Biden-Harris Border Crisis: At Least 1.7 Million Potential National Security Threats." DHS has an obligation to the American people to be as transparent as possible. We owe it to the American people to be as transparent as possible. This is not targeting some innocent migrant or someone that is seeking to be a citizen of the United States. We're talking about special interest aliens, potentially terrorists, people who are linked to terrorist organizations, people who share their travel patterns, people that all of us should not want in the United States, and the American people don't want them here either. This isn't giving their name. This isn't telling what country they're from. This isn't giving their address. This isn't saying where they work. This isn't saying anything. It's not showing their picture. It's simply saying how many came across the border each month. It's very simple, Mr. Chairman. I yield back the remainder of my time.
Gentlelady yields. All right. So let me just say this. I want us to all debate this, but let's debate the bill as much as we can. I get it that we want to make comments about what's going on, but let's debate the bill, please.
I appreciate the lesson that Ms. Greene was trying to pass on to me, but as somebody who prosecuted organized criminal enterprises for 10 years, I can tell you that this kind of information only helps the enemy. It does not stop them. And it's bad enough that you're misrepresenting what your bill says, but it's even worse than the fact that the information that's being provided will help the enemy and will do nothing to help keep our homeland secure. So I wish that, A, we had an accurate representation from the sponsor of this bill as to what it is, and B, that if it were actually that, we'd be having a very different discussion. And I yield back.